Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. Tracy here, and this is another book review. This one is 350 crochet tips, techniques and trade secrets. A compendium of crochet know-how by Jan Heaton. So the sun is shining through the window onto this book. I will be making a blind for in here, but hopefully the pages are not so glossy that we will have a problem. But here it is. I will look up, if I can remember, I will look up the current price of this and put it in the description box below, because I can't remember. I got this when a library was selling off their bits and bobs. So we have contents, hooks, tools and yarn. Hopefully it's not trying to recommend yarns. This is an old book. Probably doesn't exist anymore if they do. Chapter 2 is patterns and charts. Chapter 3 is design. Chapter 4, crochet techniques. And then we've got 5, working in the round. 6, fun with colour. And 7 is about assembling and finishing. And the bottom part is all about credits and table of contents, that sort of thing. What's the word? Index. That's the one I'm looking for. So there we go. This is the beginning part, tells you how to use the book. But I guess we've figured that one out as we go. So if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Hopefully you'll be informed when new videos pop up and live streams and sort of stuff that we're looking for these days. So yeah, we've got bits about choosing and holding hooks, basic hooks. We've got the aluminium ones. I like the anatomy bit. Oh, look, we keep calling it shaft and they call it a shank. Okay, so then we've got the steel ones, the bamboo ones. We've got the early clovers. But there are a lot more hooks since then. We have, oh wow, it tells you how to make it stop being too long. And okay, we'll move on from butchering our hooks. And then we've got toolkits, really a bit over the top, don't need that. Looking after your hooks, about pockets, bits and bobs. Okay, so this is all about yarn, probably doesn't exist anymore, so we'll move on. Patterns and charts, so working about, I don't know if it tells you too much. Obviously charts are fairly straightforward. Reading symbols, that's good. We've got a bit about symbols and how to do. Mixing and matching stitch patterns and textures. Working from a colour block chart. There's quite a lot in this. Working from a filet crochet chart. Nice and simple, really. All about tension. It's always one of those things that's easy once you know how, isn't it? Evaluate and drape. It really does go into a lot. Garment shapes. Person shapes, more like. Yeah, absolutely. Getting a good fit from ready-made patterns. Basic. Design basics. Wow, it's very thick anyway, this book. Designing scarves. It's all about, a bit will tell you about how to design things. Designing shawls and wraps. Crochet techniques, foundation chains, holding the yarn. Don't really need to know that, do you? By this time you've already worked out how you're holding your yarn. Basic stitches and extended stitches, turning and starting chains. That was always the first thing when I started designing that I would get wrong a few times, but I don't seem to anymore. Joining in new yarn. Joining lengths of yarn. We're quite a long way into this book and we're still in just basic kind of techniques. But then I guess it does say, what's the title? 350 tips, techniques and trade secrets. It's got a shiny cover because it did come from a library. I was quite lucky. They were selling off a few. Simple designs. Working lace stitches. So really, it's kind of a bit of a, well, if you've got any questions about things and you're not sure, it does actually cover a few of those sort of bits and bobs. Nothing really that I need so far, but then I have been doing this since I was 6 years old, so I suppose I've amassed quite a lot of info. puff stitches, popcorn stitches, bobbles, and adding texture with post and spikes. Really, I suppose YouTube has taken over from this. Working cross stitches. When I do that, mine look awful. Always have. I probably don't do them long enough. Shaping filet crochet, pockets, and making inset pockets, neckbands and collars, and buttons and buttonholes and bands. Not the same as knitting. Adding buttons, little tips for doing that. Making your own buttons if you want to do that. Zips, adding zips in. I think zips always fill people with dread, and yet they're not that difficult. Working edge treatments. Edging and insertions. What's an insertion? Not heard it called that. I don't know what that means. Jazzy trims and fringes. Yeah, they are jazzy. Where are we? Working in the round. We're over halfway around this book now. So, working basic round block. That's fine until you get to a certain point, and then it's not fine anymore. If you ever tried to make a really big round, you know what I mean. Turning corners on shaped blocks. Really, it tells you everything if you're learning. Working in layers. Pretty good book for those who are learning. Making a spiral. I did a crochet tutorial on spiral. Joining lace blocks. Tubes and cylinders. Great for amigurumi. Socks. Hello. Still never made a sock. I always think they'll fall down. Mittens. Fingerless or otherwise. Fun with colour. Stripe patterns. How to get the best out your stripes. I don't think we've had any patterns though, have we, in this book? It's all just tips and tricks really, isn't it? Tips and know-how. Working jacquard and intarsia patterns. Intarsia even. Felting crochet. I knew it didn't sound quite right. Now that does look cool, doesn't it? I quite like that. If you fancy felting. Applying beads. Easier than it looks. Setting up a dye studio. Now this, I did get 3 dye kits for Christmas, so I am thinking of doing some dyeing, but I don't have a Swift, so that will make things a little harder for me. Dyeing with Kool-Aid. We don't get Kool-Aid in the UK. Dyeing with acid dyes. Dyeing with Procyon dyes. Hand painting yarn with acid dyes. Wow, lots of techniques. Because I've never dyed yarn, it's not something that I've ever really looked into. Assembling and finishing. So we're now on the sewing up and fixing. Blocking and pressing. I would never recommend pressing crochet. It flattens it rather a lot. It does kind of melt and flatten the stitches a bit. So I think if you're going to block, I think either the steam or the pinning it down and wetting it is probably the best way to go. I did iron a couple of times and had a, oh, that's really grown sort of thing. I didn't like it. Obviously, you learn by your mistakes. So these are woven seams and stitching seams, back seam, woven seam across. These are not invisible, but my mattress one is very invisible if you want to find an invisible seam. Working guidelines, laundering, not money, crochet, size charts. So we've got children, standard body, woman and man. Infant and child, we've got stitch symbols, English and American terminology, which when you're trying to do a tutorial and you're doing both all the time can really trip you. Laundering symbols. Now I definitely need that. I'm always saying to you guys, heaven knows what that is. I'll let you let you look at it and decide. Categories of yarn, which we all know really now. Yeah. So what P is maybe dry and cleaned with perchlorothene or fluorocarbon or petroleum-based solvents. So it kind of is not really information we need to know, but the dry cleaner. Okay, so then we've got the index, and we've got a flap, which is about all the abbreviations that you could get, and it's got a measurer, and it's got, I don't know why we've got this, but it's actually quite handy that it does tell us the letter equivalent to our crochet hooks, because sometimes if you're watching an American tutorial, they might say they're using a G hook or something like that, which means nothing to us guys over here. So that's the book. It didn't take me long to whiz through it, because obviously I always try not to linger over patterns or too much instruction, because that really does take away from Jan Eaton's book. I need to buy it if you've seen it. So what do you think? Do you think it's handy? Don't take any notice of the library symbol. I did actually buy this from a library and nick it. So let me know in the description box below what you think. Good for beginners, good for referencing if you're not. What do you like about it? What don't you like? What do you think it kind of lacked? Or yeah, just your feedback would be great in the comment section. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, like I said, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.